Today, we're going to be debunking some legal myths.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
We're not going to get into a whole lot of legal specifics. We're going to keep this kind of general and light, but there are certain things that people refer to every day that we need to get into a little bit further. So myth number one, if the police don't read you your rights, your case will be dismissed, right? If the police don't read you your rights, your case will be dismissed. Is that true? Not necessarily in any form or fashion. I always hear about people, I know my rights.
I know my berries. Don't swallow. See, I'm fine. If there's one thing I know, it's fair wind.
So we're all familiar with our Miranda rights, right? Everyone talks about them. They've been around for decades, right? But here is the problem. Many police officers just don't give a shit.
The department was forced to drop the charges because you forgot to read him his Miranda rights. What possible reason is there for not doing the only thing you have to do when arresting someone?
I did read him his right. I did a version of that.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you. Okay, got it. So what happens when they don't? Do you think it's automatic? That, oh, well, this officer didn't read me my rights. Okay. He didn't read you your rights? Case dismissed. Go home and here's some ice cream for you on the way out the door. The reality is that officers violate basic rights every day. Now, I'm not saying that is always the case, okay? Because I happen to believe that most officers are good and they follow the law and they follow the rules in most instances. But for us to believe that they do it every time, I think is a little disingenuous. So you do have to understand that the fact that an officer does not adhere to the Miranda rights and warnings and does not provide them to you does not automatically mean that your case is dismissed and it's gone. You still will need to go through the process, cross your fingers, and hope that a judge or a jury reaches the right conclusion with regards to the dismissal of your case. Don't believe it's automatic, because that is absolutely not the case. Myth number two, all lawyers are expensive.
Bitch better have my money.
And not worth the cost. Look, as a lawyer, I've needed lawyers from time to time, and I've tried to use some of the cheaper ones on occasion. And you get what you pay for. So while the best legal representation usually is expensive, there is extreme value in having the best lawyers in certain circumstances, because having the best lawyers and the best representation usually leads to the best outcome. So paying a lot for the best opportunity to arrive at a certain outcome is the best way to go, ideally, right? That's the best way to go, ideally. But in the real world, everyone does not have an unlimited budget. And I think legal representation is almost essential in everything that you do. However, you don't have to pay through the nose for it also. Shop around. Compare with other lawyers. Different lawyers are going to charge different rates at different circumstances. They might take a liking to your case. They might be able to do it on some kind of a pro bono type of situation. They might be able to work out certain payment plans with you. So you can get good legal representation at an affordable rate if you try to negotiate or look around, do research online to see who's available, who's out there, and who is willing to take on your particular task at a rate that can work within your particular budget. All right, myth number three, if you're not guilty, you have nothing to worry about. Wrong. That is absolutely incorrect. I have seen it numerous times where someone who has all the right evidence, has the right cause of action, they're moving forward, doing all the right things, and they still get convicted, or they still lose their case because of certain things that are outside of their control. It is not fair, it is not right, but it does happen from time to time. Let me give you one example. A few years ago, I, Attorney Darren Miller, was charged with a crime that I had nothing to do with. It was absolutely wrong. It was absolute bullshit because it was so important that I got rid of this charge, that I cleared my name. And because I had a multi-million-dollar operation at stake, I had to make sure that it went the right way. So I'll tell you this, I spent $130,000 on defense on that case to make sure it went the way that it needed to go. And I went to court, other side had nothing. I went to court again, where is their evidence? What is going on? What's the deal? So in my particular case, and I don't mind telling you this because I'm not ashamed of it, I went to court with this very expensive lawyer. And each time, okay, prosecution, show us your evidence. Show us what you got. Show us this damning testimony that you've used to destroy my life. And every time we asked them to produce it, they had nothing. They had zero. They had nothing other than throwing my name through the mud, just trying to damage my reputation. Myth number 4, you can't sue the government. While there is something called sovereign immunity, there are situations where you can sue the government. How do I know this? Because I'm doing it right now. I can't really talk too much about right now, that I am suing on behalf of a certain minority group that has been discriminated against by the government. And I believe that we're going to be very successful for thousands of victims and get them millions of dollars in compensation from the government. So absolutely, you can sue the government on occasion, be successful. It's a hard and uphill battle, but that's why we got into this business. Because if it was easy and anyone could do it, that's not for me. Myth number 5, you can always get out of a contract if you change your mind. Wrong! Now, contracts can be written or they can be verbal, as we all know, right? But contracts have to be enforceable. We need enforceable contracts so that we can sit steadfast in understanding when we shake someone's hand to do a particular deal, that they're going to do something or we're going to do something, and we can move forward from there. If people could get out of contracts at any point in time, then what would happen to our system? Our system could screech to a halt, because at any point when you don't like something, you know what? I've changed my mind. Let me not do that anymore. You can't do that. We have to have agreements, known as contracts, that we can count on to be enforceable when everyone understands is on the same page with regards to what their understanding is, so that we can move forward in business and in different relationships that we're involved in. Contracts are legally binding, and when you break them, you have consequences. You can't simply change your mind back out of a contract without legal repercussions. Yes, one of my favorite topics in law school was contracts. I actually got an A in contracts. If you and I agree to something and you don't do something, I can sue you and get this and get this and get this, and it's in writing, and I'm going to enforce it against you if you choose not to honor that contract. So there has to be stability. They are enforceable. If you agree to something, whether in writing or not, but to please understand, if you breach your end of the agreement or the understanding, there can and will be, in many situations, will be cost to that. You could lose, you could pay their attorneys and yours. So please be very careful in understanding a contract before you agree to something, because in many situations you will be bound by it. Myth number 6, all lawsuits end up in court. Wrong. I have in my personal injury department probably about 4,000 cases in my personal injury department. Of those, we probably file lawsuits on maybe 800 of those cases, 800. And the ones that actually go to trial, probably less than 10%, 80 of those, okay? So of the thousands of cases that we have, I'm telling you right now,
And I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
98% of them get resolved without going to court. Because let's just think about it. Going to court is expensive, it's costly, and it takes such a long time, okay? And if every case had to go to court to get resolved, you would have backlog for decades, okay? So that's why most cases get resolved. It's some give and take on both sides, and eventually the cases get settled. It's only when the disputes are fantastic or when attorneys are diametrically opposed to each other with regards to what they believe the state of the law is, where you need the assistance of a judge or a jury to make a particular ruling. But most cases do not go to court. They certainly don't get tried, and they get resolved without being burdened by having to go through the formalized legal process of court. Okay guys, so hopefully we've learned a little something about certain myths that we've been able to debunk today. So let us know what else you'd like to talk about, what you'd like to hear about, what legal issues I need to cover for you. I'm Attorney D. Millard, and this is DLAW.
I'ma keep it real with you.